What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome with Tyler Stafford and Josh Reddick, who is not on a mountain anymore. How was your run that day? After you got off, how was your run? Everything go okay?
Well, I didn't have to go to the urgent care center, so I call that a win anytime you're on the mountain. But yeah, it went smoothly. The only thing we kind of get upset, we haven't had snow in about a week here. Weather outside, I think, is about, my watch is saying 45 degrees, and we've had that for
Wow.
about the last 4 or 5 days. So we've been very minimal on the under layers, but it doesn't make for very good slopes and snow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a balmy 80 in Houston right now. My air condition is on behind me. It's February 6th. This is stupid.
Global warming is a real thing, man.
Oh man. So the Astros have signed somebody since the last time we talked. It is not Alex Bregman. It's Ben Gamel, who you may remember from his 69 plate appearance stint with the team toward the end of last year. Actually played very well for them. Fractured his fibula running into a wall in Anaheim, that low wall in right field in Anaheim. Josh, I'm sure you're very familiar with that foul territory, but Ben Gamel fractured his leg there, but he is going to be a full go for spring training. The Astros gave him it's a major league deal with only $200,000 in guaranteed money. He's got $1 million more that can become guaranteed money if he makes the team out of spring training. And Josh, I feel like he's got a roster spot to lose given the complexion of this outfield, given how right-handed this lineup is. Ben Gamel hits left-handed. This is a guy that they have seen have success for them. Career-wise, 96 OPS plus guy, doesn't have maybe the career stats that you would look for, but this is kind of the guy they were looking for, a veteran that they have seen have success that can stand in one of the corner outfields and provide some depth from the left side.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this pretty much slates that we keep Altuve on the infield, which is obviously the bigger picture here. Keep him where he's healthy, where he's comfortable. But you get a guy who's not only been a good hitter, but a guy who's played some superb defense for the better part of his career. I mean, playing against that guy, I could name several times that he's taken hits away from myself, from other people. So just a guy who's familiar with not only the ballpark, but he's familiar with that division. He played in the West for years, and for him to be able to have that comfortability on every ballpark in that division and be able to come back into that clubhouse where he already knows the majority of everybody, it's going to help him a lot. But with your roster spot comment, yeah, I mean, this guy has to do something barring short of dying to not get a roster spot on the Houston Astros. So this is a guy that, I think they really wanted. You didn't really hear anything about him, which was really the crazy part. We talked about Verdugo a little bit, and with Bregman, who knows what's going to happen there with him. But I think this is a very good safety net signing for the Astros. He has the potential to be a very good player for them, and like I said, it keeps Jose on the infield, which I think is what we all wanted.
Yeah, Josh, I mean, he ran into an outfield wall. I know you've done that many times in your career. Fractured a fibula. I can't imagine coming back to work after fracturing a leg. How do you like get over that as an outfielder and keep playing as aggressively as you need to in the outfield?
Well, I think that mindset is there to want to go make a play whenever you can. So I don't think the mindset changes there. Maybe a little bit more cautious on the situation of the game, but that's so hard to process when you're out there running full speed at something like that. And the good thing is, I think probably 98% of ballparks have padding everywhere. We all know Houston put in padding down that right field line for years truly when I broke my wrist there in 2013. But I think the best part about that is knowing that everything has padding, and if different padding plays differently, there's padding that you can bounce right off of. There's padding that doesn't give at all. So I think he's just got to pick his spots to where something like that. The short wall probably had effect on him to where he did break it in an awkward way, because to do that's a pretty awkward break from looking back at the film, from watching it. But I don't think that changes his mindset. He gets out there, he's going to bust his butt out there to make any play he can. I think that's just something that is going to be a factor for him to not really worry about.
What's the comfiest outfield wall?
Ooh, the comfiest? I could say Minute Maid. It's sorry, Daikin. Sorry, Daikin Park.
They took
Sign-
it down.
Its signage is official now. So it's going to take us some time, viewers. So bear with us. It's pretty easy with there because is shallow as you can play there. It's easy just to play deep at that ballpark, and the hardest part is that kind of like the bullpen layout. But then again, it's chain link anyway. But there's all kinds of ballparks. Seattle is a very easy ballpark to run into the wall because it gives really well. Anaheim, not the best for a right fielder because you go into that wall and all it is just I think it's 4x4s or brick right behind where the bleachers are, and then you got the short porch. The only safe part to run into in right field there is where the gate opens for the batting tunnel to come out and the grounds crew to come out and do their thing. But and then you can flip it around when you look at there's obviously Wrigley Field where you're probably not going to run into a wall unless it's the playoffs or something like that because that's just nobody wants to run into brick wall at all. And then you figure in like Fenway, I ran into Fenway's monster, doesn't give one bit. Then you got to worry about the rivets that are hanging out. So there's all kinds of ballparks. But for the most part, I'd say about 25, 26 ballparks are pretty safe to run into.
And then we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Dodger Stadium with Aaron Judge. That cost Aaron Judge a season base. I mean, he still kept playing, but broke his toe on what was it, concrete? I don't know what it is. I mean, you've played that right field. He ran into that ball and broke his toe, and that cost him a season a couple of years ago.
There's about a 4-inch section of concrete at the bottom of that outfield. And the worst part about Dodger Stadium is from playing there as a Dodger and then going and playing there against them, they don't take very good care of their warning track. And at least they didn't in the past. You can go back to videos of 2020. I think it was Framber was pitching during the COVID season. And they gave it back-to-back homers that I could have very easily caught. But when I went to go jump, my feet just sunk because it was so soft. And I had no way of getting off the ground. So once you get about 3 feet from the wall there, I don't know if they fixed it now, it would always just soften up like beach sand. And it was always a horrible, horrible way to go back to a wall because even if you're not jumping, that's an easy way to roll an ankle, break an ankle. You roll over and then you hit your shoulder wrong. There's so many things that can go wrong. And, I can look back at like Oakland, when Oakland was still a ballpark and playing there, going into foul territory, they had that same concrete slab as well. But the Coliseum also had their drainage pipes down there. So they had like little, I don't know what you would call it, like drainage pipe plates, whatever. And there were a couple of times I slipped on those because that's where they just spray everything out. But yeah, when you look at Dodger Stadium, there's just all kinds of factors that kind of play into that don't really make sense. And you got all the money in the world. You can fix this. You got everything at your disposal to figure that out. To not only save guys coming in that don't play every day, but you don't want your guys running out there and having to have Dave Roberts sit in the post game going, well, I don't know why our outfield, our warning track isn't as sturdy as it should be. And we got but now Mookie Betts has got to go on the shelf for 3 months because our grounds crew didn't do it right.
Speaking of, this is actually a perfect transition. Speaking of Mookie Betts, a guy that has played both the infield and the outfield, want to talk? You mentioned the Ben Gamel addition ostensibly should put Jose Altuve a little bit more in the infield. Joe Espada and Dana Brown talked to the media on Tuesday, 2 days ago at the Astros annual media luncheon, and from my understanding, it sounded like the news didn't come out until a day later that they had gotten Ben Gamel, but they were down the road with Ben Gamel at that point, so they were talking with the knowledge that Ben Gamel was going to be on the roster. It sure sounds like Jose Altuve is going to see some time in left field this year. Now, I don't know if that'll be his primary position, but Joe Espada said he is looking good out there. They said his athleticism is playing. Dana Brown, longtime scout, obviously, I asked him specifically from a scouting eye, put his eyes on Altuve and what did he see? And he says his reads off the bat are good, getting into the gaps are good and things like that. So I do think we're still looking at Jose Altuve playing some left field this year. I'm not sure it's full time, but they've now got enough insurance between Ben Gamel, Mauricio Dubon, Yordan Alvarez, who is not going to play a ton out there, but still will see some time out there, and then maybe Zach DeZenzo as well, and Taylor Trammell. So they've got left, right, they've got big, small, they've got every kind of left fielder you can think of to put out there.
I think it kind of filled in their gap that they were looking for. And you say platoon. But I think it becomes a platoon everyday thing for Jose to be able to play, 4 times a week at second, And then you go out there, you get that lefty matchup where, we know how analytics plays and stuff like that, to where lefties aren't going to face many lefties. So you figure Ben will probably get that day off. And whether that's Jordan's day out there or Altuve's day out there, I think they have plenty of pieces to fill that gap to make it work.
Now, specifically with Altuve, this is a guy that turns 35 in May. Moving him from the infield to the outfield, however much it does, that to me would put a little bit more wear and tear on the body. You inherently in the outfield, you got to run more, you got to cover more ground. They can stick him in left field at Dyken Park, and obviously it's a smaller outfield, but it's inherently playing the outfield is more strenuous at times than playing the infield. So with that in mind, a reporter, not me, asked Dana Brown whether he thought whether they were going to be mindful of the wear and tear that it was going to put on Altuve's body. And I've got the quote here for people that are watching YouTube. For people that are watching YouTube, you can read the quote. I'm going to read it out loud for those that aren't watching on YouTube. This was Dana's response to how does the potential wear and tear on Altuve playing left enter your calculus. Dana responded, I don't think it's that much extra wear, other than it's a longer run from the dugout. I played outfield. It gets boring out there. You don't do much, and you may not get a fly ball for a long time. Maybe if it was center, there's more wear because you have to run to both sides, both gaps. But I think he's probably going to get bored at times.
So
I'm going to leave the floor open.
I'm going to refer just to one sentence, and I'm looking at my phone because you texted to me. The only thing I found wrong with that paragraph is the comments about center field. I feel like that could have been completely omitted from that conversation. Everything else I kind of agree with. The wear and tear it's irrelevant to me. I think the wear and tear comments are relevant because I agree it does get boring out there a lot, because especially when you have guys like Fromber throwing, you're not going to get work out there. Hunter Brown's on the mound, you're going to get a lot of strikeouts. You're not going to get very many things. So it does get boring. I think the wear and tear is kind of a comment that kind of irks me a little bit, because I'm going to refer back to my career and playing in Oakland for 4.5 seasons. And our dugout was on the third base side, and I played right field. So we know how long of a run that is. And we calculated it. It was close to, I think, if you include like everything daily on a baseball field, I think it was close to about 2.5 miles of just jogging in and out of the dugout, which I took as a positive because, one, it kept me looser. It kept my legs, warmer and fresh, as opposed to just locking up on the bench and then going out there and standing around for a little bit. So I think the outfield run for him can be more beneficial than it can be a wear and tear issue for him. Now, granted, the pitch clock becomes a factor whenever you have all this, you have to rush around like that, but there's ways that you can kind of beat the pitch clock to where you need to get out there. And but with Jose, my man's on base too many times for it to be a more wear and tear time thing for him anyway. Those legs have gotten a lot of miles underneath ever since he stepped foot on a baseball field. And then I think that trend is just going to continue, because this guy's going to be on base for you. If he has to take that extra slow jog out to the outfield, so be it. And we already talked about Altuve is not going to be out there with the guys that are going to be giving up the fly balls and the hard hit base. He's going to be out there with, the Frombers, the Hunter Browns, your strikeout guys. So I think that they can kind of pitter patter and play with it to where they can keep him fresher for the at bats, and then put him back on the infield for, say, somebody that's, going to have a little bit more work for him in there. But he's an infielder. He's a middle infielder. He has so much work already through his daily basis, before the game, during the game, and everything else. So I think the wear and tear is something that we can kind of throw out the window. But yeah, when you go back to the center field comments, you get Jake Myers or Chaz over there. Jake over there to kind of cover that gap for him and help him out a lot more, to where it's not as a big a thing for him, where you have guys like, Taylor and right, or Ben and right. You can switch those guys, right, because Gamel's a right fielder as well. So you have plenty of moving pieces to make sure that, your franchise guy and a Hall of Famer is going to be just fine.
Is there anything to, adding a new position that is going to take up a lot of time and brain space and things like that? How how do you balance, still having the right approach at the plate, and making sure that the rest of your game stays where it is, because I know sometimes you hear things of, oh, we want this guy to DH so he can just focus on hitting or whatever. Like how much does that actually play into the day-to-day life for somebody like Altuve?
I think it all starts with him in spring training. Spring training becomes such a factor for him to get work, to get everything he needs to do, because there's so much extra time to get out there. Too many guys. I mean, you got what, 10 outfielders out there, what, 4 non-roster invites, and you got your major league staff out there. But with a guy like Gary Pettis, Gary's been so great at being such an outfield coach out there as well. Did I miss something? You guys gave me the eye look. Like, is Gary still with the team?
Gary is not still with the team.
Edit that out. We'll cut that out. Shit. Anyway, so, but yeah, I think just spring training becomes a big factor for him to be able to get his work in, get his his repetition, not only in games, but you get out there, and we have so many outfield drills that we can run to help him get right. But to the hitting side of things, I think getting him in the outfield probably helps him out a little bit more as a hitter, because there's a lot less stuff to think about out there. You go back to the boredom part of things, gives you more time to assess your situation at the plate, what you're going to do the next time you get out there. Because, as an infielder, I feel like your mind's running around everywhere, left, right, up, down, the whole game. Whereas when you get an outfielder, you're just looking at somebody going, man, I got a guy way over there about 100 feet away. I got nobody to talk to over here. All right, so we'll see where we go from here.
And Altuve is such a man of the people that he's probably going to talk to the fans that are in the Crawford box. Like, he's probably going to be having conversations. He's such a nice guy that he's not going to turn a fan down if a fan wants to have a conversation with him. So he'll have that too. Josh, there's on the opposite part of that. Jordan has talked a lot in the last 3 or 4 years about how he thinks he is more engaged in the game when he plays defense.
Absolutely.
And if you look at his numbers, now he has DH'd way more than he has played left field, but his numbers as a left fielder and as a DH, his numbers are demonstrably better as a left fielder offensively. He's got a higher OPS. I think he's hitting like 330 in like the 100 and so something games that he has played in left field. Now, again, you have to take sample size into account.
Right.
And that is partly why I believe, Jordan and Josh, that you were teammates with him, he has talked a lot about he wants to play out there. I don't think he wants to be pigeonholed as a DH. I think he wants to show that he is more than just a guy that they give 4 at-bats to a game. I think, and he has talked about being in the outfield helps him lock in, helps him stay engaged in the game. Can you kind of speak to that and how, whether you saw that with him and whether that's, what he is talking about? Can you kind of verbalize that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it goes back to our conversation about me talking about Jose being, more focused on hitting in that part, because I agree with him. As little as I DH'd in my career, I could not stand it. I hated it. It was kind of just a day for me to get off my feet from playing. And I agree, because you feel like you got to go to the cage every other inning to keep loose. You got to sit in the video room to stay locked in. I'm completely with him on that one, as opposed to sitting on the bench and waiting for the next at bat. And it goes back to that wear and tear comment. Maybe it helps him keep his legs looser. Maybe it helps him keep his body to where he wants to be better off, where he's not in the weight room foam rolling or riding a bike or doing something to stay loose for the game. It's something that it's a continuous movement. And as we all know, the things that, when you get in motion, things tend to stay in motion, and that can help him out in the long run. Yeah, it's a small sample size, but it's something that you cannot ignore when the numbers really stand out like that. So I think that I'm with him. He's always been preached about wanting to be that guy. And if injuries or, wear and tear becomes an issue for him, get in that hot tub, get in that cold tub, do what you got to do to make sure that you can be out there a lot more. And, I don't know what his routine is like now, but, I was a firm believer in the hot tub, cold tub routine pre and post game. Your body recovers a lot better when you're an everyday player like that. So there's all kinds of different factors that can play in for him. But for him to be that animate and want to be out there, I think he realizes how much better a player he can be and hitter he can be once he's out there playing defense as well.
And let's not forget either. I mean, he's under team control through 2028, so he doesn't have to worry about this for a while. But you add even a little bit of defense to your game, it only enhances your value in terms of money, in terms of what you could get. We did see Pete Alonso last night, who is not a very good. He plays first base, but just kind of stands there. He's a power first guy, and that's all he got. And we saw the deal he got. So, that has to. I would imagine in the back of his mind, he has to be thinking about that too. Even though, again, he's under control through 2028. This is not a guy that's going to go to free agency anytime soon. But I think as long as he can show that he's competent out there, and he has. I mean, he's got a nice arm. Certainly not the quickest guy in the world, but I think he's more athletic maybe than his stature and maybe you would think when you look at him.
Yeah, I think he gets downplayed a lot because you look at how big he is, with the leg injuries he's had. He's more athletic than a lot of people think for his size. And like you said, he's got a very good above average arm that people take for granted. And it's pretty accurate from what I remember. He's pretty much in the zone. And the Astros don't need him to go out there play anywhere near Gold Glove defense because he's going to be a guy who's going to drive in more runs than he's going to save on a daily basis on any given day. So, I mean, just him to be able to be thrown out there. But I'm with you. He's definitely more athletic than everybody makes him out to be. And it's kind of like everybody doesn't want him to be out there. When in reality, he's a better option than a lot of other guys around the league. And, that's something that I don't think gets put out there a lot for him.
Do you guys think Altuve has his own outfield glove yet? Or is he borrowing someone's?
He's definitely borrowing someone's right now. But I guarantee you Wilson probably has one either being made. If he is Steven, I think he's still with Wilson. I can't remember what he was with. Either way, I don't want to give anybody more props, but the glove company he's with, I guarantee you, there has one sent to him already without his name on it, and the one with his name is being made right now.
Chandler, I need some investigative reporting. Whose glove is he using out there?
We'll find out in spring training because all the glove people, all the equipment people come out in spring training, and you'll see which guys go to which vendors, which guys meet with who. So I'll let you know in a week and a half when we get down.
If I had to guess, I'm going to go with probably Jordan. He's probably good. I mean, Jordan's outfielders. You get 2 gloves a year. We know Jordan's only using 1 a year. But he's got to have one on back. He's got one in his locker somewhere. But I guarantee you, if he doesn't have one of somebody playing there, they found one him pretty quick. I guarantee Carl Schneider found him one real quick.
My money's on Dubon. Chandler, we need to find out, but that's what we're going with. Josh, when you're prepping for spring training as a player, I mean, this is coming up really soon. What are you doing to kind of get ready for spring training? And then what is spring training like as a player, especially as a, maybe somebody trying to make the team, right? As opposed to somebody who's got like a locked in roster spot. I know you've been on kind of both sides of that in your career, but what does that look like from a player's perspective?
So, I mean, I think let's start from the beginning. My first big league camp was 2009 with the Red Sox. And all you really did there was just sit there and shut up. I mean, it was a different game. This is 16 years ago. Completely different game. I was in a clubhouse with, veterans among veterans among veterans among veterans. So I was just told to, and the Red Sox did a great job. They would bring in the rookies that they had ideas of helping up the team next year. They'd fly them up to Boston for like a week or two, teach them how to deal with the Boston media, how to handle everything with, Tito at that point, how to handle all that stuff. So when I got to my first big league camp, it was just about, I'm going to be there early. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to make sure I'm where I need to be at any given point. I'm not going to be the person who has to have like David Ortiz walking in the cage and have Josh Reddick sitting there at 22 years old when this man's about to get in the cage. So you make sure you get everything done before all the veterans do, because that's just your first sign of respect you're going to earn from these guys. This kid's not here to mess around. He's here to work his butt off. And when I would get called on, I made sure that I was ready, because you don't know when you're going to play as a non-roster guy. You may not play at all. There were days where, excuse me, I'd go from Fort Myers to, gosh knows, 4-hour road trips to, Kissimmee or whatnot, and never even play, and then get on the bus the next day and do it all over again and then never play. So you just never know what you're going to do. Don't show frustration. Don't show any emotion like that. Just go out there, bust your ass, and do what you need to do to make sure everything's to where they don't have anything negative to say about you. That's the best way to put it. Don't let them have anything negative to say about you, because as soon as they do, you're going to get sit right back down to minor league camp. But as for preparation, from when I was a non-roster guy to pretty much having my guaranteed spot, the workouts in the off seasons didn't change. I'd come home from my season. My first month was always absolutely nothing. Body's got to recover. Body's got to get everything out. and that was my video game month. So I would just sit in my recliner and play video games for a month, and gain 10 pounds by munching and eating all kinds of food. So, but you need that as a player, because there would be days where I'd be sitting there playing video games, and all of a sudden my leg would just cramp up, and I'd have to sit up and walk around and get my cramp out, because my body was so used to being like, hey man, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you got to get going. Like, and then once like, I think that was November. So once December kicked around, I still really wasn't doing much baseball activity. I would just get into the gym, do all my stuff, and then when New Year's hit, after them holiday pounds kick in and the calories kick in, you get those Christmas weight in. The new year would kick in, then the baseball starts coming in. There, we start from tee work to outfield work to everything I needed to do to get ready, and it wasn't anything ever really intense. It was kind of going back through the motions, get everything to where I would kind of need to be spring training ready, because you'll hear from a lot of guys like, you can prepare for spring training all you want to, but there's getting in shape, and then there's getting in baseball shape. You can do everything you need to do. You can go out there, get your routes, do your hitting, get BP, get everything. But once you're out there, and until you're standing around in cleats for 3.5 hours, you cannot simulate that at all when you're sitting there working out in the off season. So I just made sure that I was ready to get into baseball shape from day one when I got to spring training. And I was very fortunate. When I lived back home in Georgia, I would go work out at my local high school, because that was just where I was. I'd go to their gym. I'd go out there with their high school coach, and he'd hit me everything I needed to in the outfield. He'd throw to me, do everything. And this is all during the school year. So this is all great during classes and everything. So I'd just be out there by myself and be out of the door by the time my school would let out. And then as I got older and got to Houston, obviously going to the ballpark and working out with guys like, I'd work out with Gary. This is when Joe was our bench coach. So he was out there throwing BP. Just having those guys have an access. And Brock Amane, I mean, Brock Amane is probably one of the most hardest working guys I've seen, whether it be himself getting ready or helping other guys. My man was there every day. When it was coming out that, I might be playing some first base way back when, good Lord, that was scary. He was there every day hitting me ground balls, making sure I was ready to get to where I needed to be. So there's guys there that are if you're in the area, there's guys that are there for you every day to get you right. And that's, when I saw the video, who was there right out there with Altuve? Brock Amane out there doing everything he could to help him out. So it's just a matter of what your mindset is. But I think the biggest thing is when you're a non-roster guy, and you may not be trying to make a spot and you have no shot of getting on that roster, but first impressions make all the difference and make everything worth it.
I mean, I have not been in as many camps as you have, Josh, obviously, but just being around the big league clubhouse, this will be like the 7th time I've gone, and to me, the best NRIs are the guys you don't notice, the ones that are just kind of in the club. Like I thought, and he obviously ended up going on to have success, but I thought Joey Loperfido last year was the model NRI. Like, was at his locker every day, sat there, kept to himself, was available. And again, he had a very tough balance to strike because he was playing so well, and the sheer lack of storylines in Astros camp. Like, I mean, you go to Astros camp, you can write out the lineup before you even get there. So there's not a ton of battles. So when there's one guy playing well, you kind of latch on. And we wanted to talk to Joey a lot. Reporters did. And you could tell how respectful he was and looking around to make sure, okay, like you've talked to everybody else. Okay, now you can come. Like, he was the model NRI. Never heard a peep out of him. He talked when he was talked to. He fell in line. And obviously, look, it translated. He got right up to the big leagues, played well, and now he's in Toronto as part of the Kikuchi trade. But I wonder, Josh, when you got to Red Sox big league camp for the first time, did you have the jaw drop moment? Did you have the oh crap moment? Like, what was the one moment that kind of shook you and like, oh man, I'm in big league camp now?
Oh man, I think for starters, from day one, you walk into that clubhouse. I mean, this is 2009. Like I said, you go around just go around the field. I mean, I think it was Euclid at first, Pedroia at second. I think Alex Gonzalez was our shortstop at that time. We had Mikey Lowell at third base. You had Veritek catching. You had, gosh, who was this? Who was our left fielder that year? I can't remember who the left fielder was, but you had like Ellsbury was in center, JD Drew was in right. Obviously, Puppy was our DH. And like that didn't stop there. You go to the bullpen, you had, Papelbon, you had Manny Del Carmen was a big veteran at that point. Daniel Bard was just stepping in to be Daniel Bard of the relief pitching staff. So, and then obviously Terry Francona, very intimidating figure when you look at his history in the game of baseball. And this is, 16 years ago. That doesn't even account for what my man's done for the last 16 years. So just walking in and being kind of intimidated, because these are guys I grew up watching play on TV. And these are guys that I watched and idolized. So to be able to be in the same clubhouse and put on the same uniform for them was just a big eye opener for big league camp for me to just come in and be with those guys. And I think that's really the bigger eye opening part to it. And then you get out there and you're learning from guys like JD Drew, who, fellow Georgia native like myself, who I grew up watching when he was at the Braves and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of those moments where like, man, this is full circle, because 16-year-old Josh is giggling like a high school girl on the inside, but I have to keep my composure on the outside, because this is my job. These are my teammates. These are guys that I'm going to go to war with every day. So it's tough. It's not easy to be able to go out there and, sit there and look at your idols and keep a straight face, but at the end of the day, it's your job, and that's all they care about.
You want to know who the left fielder was?
Oh, let's see. We acquired Jason Bay.
Oh, that's
later that year.
That's who Baseball Reference says it was. It says it was Jason Bay.
We traded for him halfway through the year. That was the Manny Ramirez 3-team trade, because we traded Brandon Moss to the Pirates, and Bay came over, and then Manny went. Where did Manny go in that trade?
Manny went to the Dodgers.
Dodgers, yes, that's exactly right. So I can't remember who started off that year in left field for us, but it was not Jason Bay.
The last few years, and this has spanned 3 managers. AJ was pretty famous for this. I believe Dusty did it as well, and I know Joe did it last year. Every day when everyone's still in big league camp, before the cuts start going down, all 3 of those managers would invite one of the non-roster guys or a rookie to stand up in front of the big league club, introduce themselves. I think AJ made it a little fun with he would do a little research on the guys and tell them like, hey, we saw that you like to do this. And, everyone remembers last year that when Joey Loperfido got up, they knew he was a chef. They knew he liked to cook. So he cooked paella for the whole, for all of big league camp, because they knew he was an avid chef. Do you have any good, from when you were around AJ and when he did it with the Astros, do you have any good stories about any of those that still stick in your mind? And how, I guess more generally, a little bit more settling is that for a rookie to be able to kind of do that? And it's got to be nerve-wracking to get up there. But once it's done, you kind of feel like, all right, like all the guys know who I am, and kind of feel like they can settle down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's your initiation. I mean, it's your fraternity initiation to the boys. And, the one thing I remember, and I couldn't tell you who it was, my first year with the Astros, AJ had a guy who was a goat. I think it was a goat roper or a cow roper. I can't remember what he was, but he brought in his little rope and did the whole thing where he spun it around his head and did all that stuff. And then he I think Bracamane put on a cow outfit, and they had him crawl through the locker room, and he woke me by the hind leg. But I for the love of me, I couldn't tell you who it was, or But I do remember that. And one thing, and it wasn't with the Astros, and I think that Coco Crisp did a really good job with us in Oakland. There were 2 years where we did a talent show. So if you were a non-roster guy, your first big league camp, you could not back out of it. Everybody else put in $100 to buy themselves out of it. And whoever won the talent show got the money, which, as we know, for non-roster guys, this is what, $3,000 we're talking about, $3,000+ for guys who don't really have a whole lot of them. They're living by the per diem they're getting in big league camp. So for them to have that, and I remember all kinds of guys. Stephen Vogt was the one that stands out to me, because we all know how funny Stephen Vogt is. Nowadays, the referee bit, all this crazy stuff. But my man did the full Saturday Night Live skit of living in a van down by the river.
He was Matt Foley?
Oh, my gosh. And he nailed it. As you would expect Voter to nail it anyway. But I mean, he did the whole the weight adjustment and getting everybody. Yo, man, what do you want to do with your life? and the crazy part was he didn't even win, which was wild. I can't. Is it Jake Elmore? Is that third baseman?
Mm-hmm.
He played with the
Astros.
Right? Jake Elmore won because he did this rendition of singing and playing different instruments. But I thought my boy Voter got hosed by that, but those are just ways to kind of one, they ease your tension as an individual doing it. They ease the tension as the older guys getting there as well. But yeah, I think it's just all about initiation and getting the boys to know that side of you that they may not know yet.
Stephen Vogt, American League Manager of the Year.
Well deserved.
He's gone from Matt Foley in the A's spring training talent show to American League Manager of the Year. Could you? This is not
John Referzo. His name is John Referzo when he plays the referee. In case you're
this is obviously, and we'll end after this. This is not an Astros question, but I mean, you played with Stephen Vogt a bunch. Could you tell he was going to be a manager from when you were playing with him?
Oh yeah, maybe not from day one, but as we got to know more of Voter, and catchers make great managers, and that's just what they do because they know how to assess the whole situation. Everything's right there in front of them. But when you talk to Voter, even before what he got to be known for, you knew that he was going to stay in baseball and be a coach. But I think once we got to know him a little bit more, everybody knew he was going to be that manager because he's that guy. He's that guy who you can talk to anytime. He was a guy that I had plenty of conversations with throughout my career playing with him. Just talking about life, talking about the grind of life, the grind of baseball, and just getting everything off our chest, kind of like our therapy sessions for one another. And when you don't have guys like that, it makes the game a lot tougher. And the best thing about Voter is he's going to tell you straight up. He's not going to BS you. He's going to tell you straight to your face how he feels. And I think that's where you get the respect as a manager from, because there's times where you feel like somebody's not being straight up with you. But the best quality and trait I think managers can have is one, having their players' backs and not lying to them, being, telling them how it is. We're all grown men. Tell us how it is. We can handle it. And if we can't, we'll talk it out. And I think that's what makes him such a great guy and such a great person for that job.
This is an easy way to transition into telling everyone this is an exciting announcement that we'll have Joe Espada on Crush City territory in a couple of days. And you'll be able to download that and get that the day that the Astros report to camp. So you'll be able to hear from Joe Espada exclusively. He'll be on Crush City territory here. Believe we're going to get him in the next couple of days. That should be fun. We'll talk to him about everything Josh has talked about, what makes a good manager, what kind of how he felt his first year went, what he's looking forward to in spring training, and maybe see if he's got any intel already on some of these NRIs and what they're going to do in front of the club. And we will keep bringing you all that. We'll be in West Palm Beach starting. I will be in West Palm Beach starting on Tuesday. So we will keep you guys covered head to toe, everything wall to wall on Astros spring training as the season's it's coming. It's here. Dusty Baker always used to say when the Super Bowl is played, he knows baseball season's right around the corner. And Super Bowl will be Sunday. I guess before we get out of here, this will be posted before the Super Bowl. Let's take picks. Who we got?
Well, I'm not an NFL guy, but I'm going to base my pick off my parlay I have in play right now, and I'm going to go with the Taylor Swift Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. I just hope Taylor's happy. That's all I care about.
I have a nice 5-leg parlay that I need to hit because I got a Vegas trip coming in April. So.
My neighbors are from Philadelphia, so I have to root for them just because I said their dog's name is Carson after Carson Wentz from years ago. So I want them to be happy. But yeah, the Chiefs are going to win. That's what always happens. What are we talking about?
You're not going to give them the three-peat. It's too big of a deal to not give them the three-peat.
I'm in the same boat. I would love to see the Eagles win. I know more people that are Eagles fans that have been lifelong suffering Eagles fans. So for them, I would like the Eagles to win, but I can't see it. I think Mahomes is too good. Andy Reid is too good. Maybe the referees are too good. I don't know, but I think it's going to be a three-peat and it'll be something to watch. I too hope that Taylor is happy. I got an email the other day with like 50 prop bets about how much they will show Taylor on the broadcast, who she'll be sitting next to, whether she'll perform with Kendrick at halftime. Josh, I can send you that email if you'd like to add onto your parlays.
I'm good. I don't need any more bets. This is a safe one. It's only a little small bet, but it pays big.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. Thanks so much. Rate and review us on Apple, subscribe on YouTube, and we will be back soon, like we said, with Astros manager Joe Espada coming soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye.